Pratik, hi. Thanks so much for making time and speaking with us. Just a very interesting topic because we usually don't talk about it too often. But just wanted to get a sense from you. What's the kind of momentum you are seeing right now in passive flows? Is it increasing? Because that's the chatter we have been hearing about.
Yeah, thanks for having me. There's been a lot of momentum in this industry, especially in the passive funds category over the last 5 years. We've seen increasing demand from all sorts of investors. I think traditionally passive funds are very popular with institutional investors, but now I think across the board we're seeing demand for passive funds. In terms of flows itself, you're looking at an industry that has grown from 20,000 crores. If you combine all passive funds in 2015, today it's about 7.6 lakh crore. Almost 20% of the mutual fund AUM is in passive funds. And not only, when most people think about passive funds, they talk about Nifty and Sensex, but you're also seeing, a lot of categories being created, in this sort of passive funds place. You had fixed income passive funds, which were, completely zero 5 years ago. You have, the international funds category, which is also zero. In fact, commodities. So not only has sort of AUM increased, but also you see a lot more categories coming in. And I think that's where, if you look at the US sort of story, more than half the mutual fund AUM out there is in passive. So we might see similar trends over the next decade.
Hi Pratik, good afternoon. This is Vinnii joining in the conversation as well. Pratik, also want to understand, what we're seeing is, will the inflows actually now shift more towards the large cap funds as well going forward? Because, we've already seen those strong flows that have come in actually in the small cap and in the mid caps.
Yeah, so traditionally, I think if you see most of the flows, in fact, approximately 80 to 90% of the flows in the equity space is happening in large caps. This is Nifty 50, Nifty 100. A lot of it is due to flows coming in from pension funds like the EPFO and the like. So I think yes, in terms of the quantum of flows, you can expect not only now but also going forward, most of the flows happening in large caps. However, I think there is growing awareness of passive funds across different categories. So you are seeing a lot more interest coming in mid-cap funds, small-cap funds, even micro-cap funds. So I do believe that, yes, there is increasing interest coming in from other categories, but the base is very low. So we do believe that still, I think even going forward, we'll see a lot more action happening in the large cap space.
Fair enough, but I'll just come back to the point, Pratik, that we are making about how India is very different from US right now. But India is a very different market as well. You can't paint all the stocks in the same brush. Of course, within the pockets, there's this massive outperformance that we see in some of the sectors, some of the stocks, and of course, it'll be a lot more tempered when you look at the average level or the index level. Do you think Indian market in that context is different, and there'll always be a larger interest towards active and direct investing?
Yeah, I think if you look at direct investing or active investing, actually that segment has grown even higher in the US compared to India over the last 10 years. What has happened is there's been a shift in the industry where a lot of actively managed funds have actually moving from sort of the traditional mutual fund industry towards alternates. Which is something that you're also seeing in India, where a lot of people are now moving assets from mutual funds towards AIF and PMSs. So we do believe that there's going to be an explosion in sort of wealth management assets, and I think passive is a part of it. With passive, the base is very low. If you look at ex pension funds, you're looking at still very small part of the industry. And I think as more and more sort of investors come to the market, we've seen there's a huge demand for low cost and very simple products. If you look at the US also, maximum demand is for very simple products, very low cost products. So I think that's where you see a big AUM in mutual funds coming in. Apart from this, also, I completely agree. India is a market for all sorts of categories and, huge market for actively managed funds and direct investing. But what we've seen over the last decade is that the difference in returns of these funds vis-a-vis what it was, say, 5 years ago has come down. So today, buying a Nifty 500 index is probably going to give you very similar returns that what you could have with an actively managed fund. So I think that return differential has also led towards a higher intake of passive funds from a lot of our investor base.
Right, Pratik, I just want to understand in terms of any new product launches that you all would be having obviously in the micro cap, small cap, you all have had some launches. How are the returns there? Also, any new innovations that are in the pipeline?
Yeah, so I think as a fund house, we've always believed in innovation. I think even the microcap category, were the first ones to launch an index fund in that category. And what's surprising is that flows in that category itself has gone up 10 times. So if you look at the average daily volume of microcaps today versus before we launched the product, it's actually gone up 10 times. So I think it's good to see that more and more people are interested in more and more categories. But in terms of future launches, I think we obviously have a very large solution of funds. We currently have almost 30 funds that are under the passive umbrella, and we believe that most of the sort of broad-based funds have been covered. So we're looking at more sort of thematic and sector-based funds coming in over the next year or so.
Sector and thematic segments are what you're looking at tapping into. Thank you so much, Pratik, for joining in today and making time. So that